Hi, I need to report a car accident.
Okay, where did the car accident occur?
What?
Where did the car accident happen?
It's by the light by Lakeland High School.
Okay. How many cars are involved?
2.
2 cars? Okay, is anybody hurt?
I think so. I think my friends are in it.
Okay. Can you see them? Are you there?
Yeah, some of them are in the car, I think, and some of them aren't. I think they were ejected.
Okay. Did the airbags go off too?
I don't know.
Okay. You said they're ejected. Can you see their bodies?
Yeah. One's on the hood of the car, and then 2 are on the ground.
Okay. All right. So how many people are total that are hurt?
I know 3. I think there's more inside.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get the police and fire department on the way. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Hey Mom, I just wanted to let you know that me, Kaden, Sophia, and Owen are on the way to prom. I love my dress. Thank you so much for helping me. I'll text you when we leave. I love you.
Hey Mom, me and Peyton are on our way home, then just wanted to call and let you know that we're headed back, and we'll see you soon. Alright, love you.
From the moment these vehicles crash, what medical personnel know as the golden hour of trauma begins. People usually do not die from the accident, but rather from the shock that is a result of their injuries. So what emergency medical personnel have come to know is, if you are in shock, they have to work fast. If they can get to you, get you to the hospital where they can stop your bleeding and restore your blood pressure within 60 minutes, they can probably save your life. Survival from major trauma is directly related to the speed of definitive treatment.
At .005 seconds, the car of prom-goers struck Drew's car. The front bumper and chrome frosting of the grille collapsed. The hood rose, crumpled, and smashed into the windshield, while the rear wheels left the ground. Drew and Peyton were both ejected from the vehicle at the point of impact. Meanwhile, Caden, Ainsley, Owen, and Sophia continued to travel at the vehicle's original speed of 65 miles per hour. At 20 times the normal force of gravity, their bodies each weighed 3,200 pounds. If their legs were straight, they snapped at the knee joints.
At .025 seconds, in the teen's car, Caden was lifted off the seat, torso upright, knees pressing against the dashboard. The plastic and steel frame of the steering wheel began to buckle under his grip. His head was near the sun visor and his chest was above the steering column. At .04 seconds, the front 24 inches of Caden's car had been demolished, but the rear end was still traveling at 40 miles per hour. Caden's body was still traveling at the original speed of 65 miles per hour. The engine impacted Drew's car.
At .08 seconds, the partygoers' conditions continued to worsen. Caden's hands, frozen to the steering column, had been bent into an almost vertical position. The force of the impact jarred him into the steering column, instantly causing irreparable damage to his body. Meanwhile, Ainsley in the passenger seat was ejected from the car, slamming into Drew's car with her head, rebounding back onto the hood of Caden's car. She was not wearing a seatbelt.
At .1 seconds, Drew and Peyton received substantial injuries at this time. Drew suffered from massive internal bleeding, while Peyton was having severe brain hemorrhaging. These injuries ultimately led to their deaths. Caden's feet in the teen's vehicle were ripped from his shoes, the brake pedal sheared off at the floorboard. The car's entire body bent in the middle, shearing bolts and welds, and the rear of the car began to fall, slamming the rear wheels into the pavement. At .12 seconds, the prom-goer's entire car was forced out of shape. The doors were jammed shut, trapping the victims inside the car. At this time, the vehicle stopped moving forward and began to rebound. All these tragedies occurred in less than 1 second.
The first officers to the scene will overlook the scene for any hazards that might impede the rescue process. They're looking for downed power lines, fire, leaking gas, or anything that might possibly harm the rescuers. The first victim they assess is 17-year-old Ainsley Alterman. Ainsley was the front seat passenger and she was not wearing a seatbelt. On impact, Ainsley was thrown through the front windshield, her body still moving at 65 miles per hour, and slammed into the other car head first, then rebounding and landing on the hood of Caden's car. This impact will cause massive head and brain injuries, as well as a large tear in both her lungs and liver. From these injuries, Ainsley is losing a massive amount of blood. She is comatose, not responsive. There's nothing the paramedics can do. Ainsley does not have a pulse or blood pressure. Ainsley is dead. The paramedics will tell the police office to call the courier. The driver of the car is 18-year-old Caden Calhoun. At impact, Caden's body was thrown forward, his face smashed in the windshield, causing multiple facial cuts and bruises, and breaking nearly every bone in his face. Large pieces of glass are embedded in his face and scalp. Caden has suffered an injury in his brain and is semi-conscious. His chest, abdomen impact with the steering wheel, causing him to break several ribs. A large segment of Caden's rib cage is moving abnormally as he attempts to breathe. The lung underneath has been badly bruised and no longer functions. Caden's spleen, which sits below the lower left of the rib cage, has been ruptured and he is rapidly losing blood. Lastly, his knees have been smashed into the dashboard, causing his right thigh bone to snap in two.
The backseat passenger is 18-year-old Sophia Henry. Sophia is the only one in the teen's car to be wearing her seatbelt. However, the lap belt was being worn improperly across her abdomen instead of across her pelvis, so as not to crush her dress and flowers. The shoulder strap was also pushed off to the side. As the car impacted the other car, Sophia's body folded over like a clasp knife, and the seatbelt across her abdomen has caused a liver tear. As the car collapsed against the other car, the right side of the car caved in, causing an injury to Sophia's right chest wall, breaking several ribs. One of these ribs punctured her left lung, causing it to collapse. Sophia remains conscious during all of this, and with each gasp for breath, she feels the pain as the broken bones grate against each other. She is semi-conscious but has a sense of what is going on around her. She screams for Ainsley as she is realizing that her friend is dead. 18-year-old Owen Mladenoff was riding in the back seat with Sophia. He was not wearing a seatbelt. On impact, Owen was thrown into the seat back in front of him. His face and head struck first, causing his neck to snap back as the weight of his body lunged forward. This movement injured his spine, making him unable to move any of his muscles. Owen has a large glass fragment embedded in his left arm, but he is unable to remove it because he can no longer use his arms. When EMTs assess Owen, they recognize that he has a serious neck injury. Extreme care is used in removing him from the car so as not to cause him any further injury. During this process, Owen is awake and, although unable to move, can still feel a great deal of pain and pressure. Owen will be taken by ground ambulance to the nearest trauma center.
Of the 3 kids still alive, Caden is the most critical. The EMTs will stabilize his neck and back and remove him as quickly as possible from the vehicle. This is a problem because the car is so badly deformed around Caden that they must use the jaws of life to cut him out of the car. The EMTs will insert a large tube through Caden's mouth and down into his windpipe. Through the large tube, the ambulance crew will assist his breathing and administer extra oxygen. 2 large IVs will be placed into his arms and the EMT will begin giving blood. The EMTs will splint his right femur with anti-shock trousers, and he will be taken by ambulance to the trauma center. At the trauma hospital's emergency room, Caden's breathing will be controlled by a machine. He will be given a large amount of blood and fluid to replace what he has lost. A large tube will be placed through his nose and down into his stomach to empty out his stomach. A second large tube will be placed into his bladder to drain his urine. Blood will be drawn from his arm. A surgeon will make an incision into Caden's abdomen below his navel, and a small tube will be inserted into his abdomen to find the source of his bleeding. Caden will remain in the intensive care unit on a breathing machine for 3 weeks. Several days after the accident, when his condition stabilizes, Caden will go back to surgery and have a large rod inserted into his thigh bone so that it can heal correctly. He will be in the hospital for 5 weeks, followed by a long recovery period at home. About 18 months later, Caden will return to surgery, having the rye in his thigh removed, as well as his facial scars revised. The most devastating long-term effect will come from his traumatic head injury. He will not remember most of his friends, and he will have to work hard to relearn basic skills such as reading and writing. His plans for the future are permanently put on hold.
Upon arrival to the hospital, Sophia's injuries will be quickly evaluated. An incision will be made between the ribs on the right side of her chest, and a large tube will be inserted into the chest. This will help expand the collapsed right lung. Like Caden, Sophia will have tubes inserted into her stomach. bladder, and abdomen, and will very quickly go to the operating room, where her torn liver will be repaired. She will leave the hospital in about 3 weeks, and will have an extensive recovery period at home. She will also have severe emotional damage, as she will have trouble trying to recover from the death of her friend Ainsley, whom she watched die right in front of her eyes. She will spend years in psychological counseling working to get over the damage this has caused. When he arrives in the emergency room, he will undergo the same battery of tests and procedures his friends did. X-rays and computerized scans show fractured vertebrae in his neck. The neurosurgeon will take him to the operating room, where the bones in the neck will be repaired. In order for his broken neck to heal, he will be fitted with a metal halo that is anchored in place by rods sticking out of his skull. He will then be fitted with a heavy halo vest with large metal rods protruding out the top to support his neck while the bones heal. The most this will accomplish is that Owen will eventually be able to hold his head up. His spinal cord will never heal. Owen will no longer spend his time playing basketball or doing other physical activities. He will spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Owen will also spend years in psychological counseling trying to recover from the death of his friend Ainsley.
Sunday mornings were your favorite. I used to meet you down on Woods Creek Road. You did your hair up like you were famous, even though it's only church where we were going. Now, Sunday mornings I just sleep in. It's like I buried my faith.
Love you, be careful. Drew, those are the words that I found myself always telling you when we said our goodbyes. Usually it was for school, to a friend's house, or on your way to football or basketball practice. When I left you last and you got in your car and drove away with your friends, I shared those words and gave you a hug. I never thought it would be my final goodbye, my last hug, and you gave the best hugs. Who's going to make me laugh each day and see the brighter side of every situation? How am I going to get through football season this fall, for what should have been your senior year? You were so looking forward to this. I'm never going to see you all dressed up for prom. I'm never going to hear you say my buddies and I are going to stay the night at Brendan, Zach's, or Ryan's anymore. Where would you have chosen to go to college? Or what career path would you have chosen? My heart aches and I get a big lump in my throat, knowing your sisters and you will never run around the house picking on each other anymore. I'll never get to hear you called Uncle Drew. There'll be no wedding, no kids. I love you, Drew. It's my turn to be careful with the memories I have and how to keep them alive even though you're not. I love you, buddy.
To my best friend, I can't believe you're really gone. If I could only have 5 more minutes of our car rides with the windows down, our weekly hangouts at my house, and before school conversations. I will never forget the first day I met you, that sunny, beautiful first day of 4th grade. I will forever miss your beautiful smile and outgoing personality. My life will never be the same without you by my side. I honestly have no clue how I'm supposed to go on without you. I lost my biggest supporter and the person who put a smile on my face every day. I will make sure your spirits live on. Light up heaven with that big smile of yours. Love you forever, Addison.
Dear Ainsley, I'm so extremely sorry for what I have done to you. I should have never done what I did. It was stupid and irresponsible. I should have never gotten behind the wheel. Not only did I lose my football scholarship and my entire future, but I lost one of my best friends. Now every time May 24th comes around, I remember how that was the day I ruined both of our lives and killed someone that has been so important to me since freshman year. I will never not think of you and how I could have made this better. Should have been me and not you. One day I hope I can be forgiven and forgive myself, but for now I will live with the guilt I carry. I miss you every day and I am so sorry. Caden.
All of us here today hope that we have made a difference in the decisions you will be making about drinking and driving and texting and driving. Promise us that you will remember to think before you get behind the wheel of a car. Saying goodbye to a friend is the hardest thing you will ever have to do.